It is Thursday, February 13th. We are just about halfway through February, and things are not looking good. Um, for the comic industry, for this store, for America, all up in the air. I spoke to a good customer as Bob from Talking Comics, the very long running comic podcast. He gets his comics from an old, hey Joe, he gets comics from an old school comic shop that's been around for about 40 years, and they are having a lot of trouble. They got everything from Diamond, except for DC. They had Lunar for DC, and when all this Lunar stuff went down, they missed weeks of image books. Weeks of image books he just didn't get because he missed some of these emails. So, yeah, he's having a lot of problems. Um, Today was different than every other day this week. Today was the first day this week, besides for maybe Sunday. Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday is not a very busy day for us, except for that things felt kind of normal business wise. And that's crazy. It's February 13th. The kind of normal for February 13th is not good. February 13th business is very low. It's why we order so little in February. But we had that actual February business today, which I feel like many other days this week we have not. We got our Diamond, not our Diamond, we did not get our Diamond books. Maybe tomorrow we'll be getting our Diamond books. We got our DC books, which were delayed for no known reason. Put them out, listed them as available in people's pull box. No one came running to get them right away, which I thought a few people might. Joseph asked me, I said yesterday Joe should pick our topic for today's live stream. Joseph asked me to do a live stream about graphic novel biographies. Now, I'm not going to presume to know why Joe asked that. Maybe it's something he thinks I know a lot about. Maybe something he doesn't know a lot about. Or vice versa. Maybe he thinks he does know a lot about and I don't talk about it enough so he doesn't know what I know. I don't know. So we're just going to go in with a real basic, slow history of the comic book graphic novel slash discussion of the comic book graphic novel. Now, comic books have actually existed as a form of commentary about the creator's life way, way back. Even old comic strips, like Walton Skeezix would make little jokes about the creator. Winsor McCay appears in a Crazy Cat at one point. In a Little Nemo at one point for a second to make a little comment, discuss what the things are. Okay, Victor. Most famously, comics that are autobiographical are respected, are thought about, right? We have even the work of R. Crumb, right? Where are my anthologies? Where's that Crumb? Even R. Crumb, whose underground comics often dealt with his own personal feelings, one of the most famous being Uncle Bob's Midlife Crisis, which doesn't come in there. No, I just don't think I'm that interesting. I kind of hate myself. That's what I'm thinking. The underground comics of the 60s and 70s started really getting into people's lives. Famously, we have Stuck Rubber Baby by the great Howard Cruz, which deals, Shermana Clef, it's officially fiction, but it really deals with his own issues as a gay man growing up in the 60s. But the 80s explodes. The 80s, we get Mouse. And that blows the top off of everything. People start talking about the genius of these things, and then Crumb gets this big resurgence as art and all this stuff, and the graphic novel biography becomes like a hot commodity. People, and let me tell you, if you go and find the number of graphic novel biographies that were made between the years of 1988 and 1993, there are so many that are so bad. There's very few that are good. Now, keep in mind, up until Mouse, this stuff is not respected. It's art. It's not like stupid superhero garbage, but it's not cared about. You have Harvey Pekar doing American Splendor, which is basically 90% of the time autobiographical, but he also does with Crumb especially, little biographies of jazz greats, all sorts of stuff. Um, Comics, like I said, comics have tried to do autobiography on and off for decades. This is a Dark Horse collection called Autobiographic Comics that collects a Dark Horse series that ran in the back of Dark Horse Presents, I think, about these characters' lives. In Oh no, they ran as autobiographic comics. Sorry, that's in 2003. Okay, so we have Mouse in the 80s. You have Parasopolis in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then you have this, and it's still not really picked up. What changed? What happened that I can go and take a picture of my biography section right here, which I actually just pruned and got rid of a bunch of stuff. And we have all of this. A lot of these are autobiography. They're not all biography, but what happened was that underground scene that I talked about, those people who just sort of talked about their own life and dealt with their pain through comics. Well, throughout the 90s, they were regarded as the serious artists. Eileen, Chester Brown. Throughout the 90s, people went to art school and they heard about these people. People like Jeffrey Brown, people like Lucy Knisley, people like Michael Cooperman, even who went to school in the 80s. This is what they consider great art. This is what they consider everything that comics can do. And so they start telling those little comics. They start making zines and small press books about this kind of thing. And they do really well. The 90s are filled with people's stupid, pointless little things about their own life, comic books that like no one reads. But the creators get better at storytelling through it. The creators get better at crafting those stories. These Jeffrey Brown stories are so raw and realistic and believable. But look at them. Like, they look like a child drew them. Jeffrey Brown, of course, now famous for drawing Star Wars and Marvel characters. But this is his first clumsy, unlikely, and any easy intimacy about him losing his virginity in his 20s and all the weird, uncomfortable relationships he had afterwards. These were all zines that became small press books in the early 2000s. And that scene grew and grew and grew. Meanwhile, things like Parasopolis and Mouse and the works of Crumb are discovered to have this incredibly long tail. They're people just keep buying them. So in the early 2000s, a lot of publishing companies approach people known for doing some of those cheesy, not that great nonfiction stuff in the past, such as Sid Jacobson and his friend Ernie Colon, and have them start working stuff. Sid and Ernie, of course, go on to write a whole bunch of nonfiction graphic novels of great import, as you can see, which leads to lots of other people doing meaningful and important ones, of course, over the years. And you just find it everywhere. This isn't even officially biography. These are biographies, not autobiographies, about great artists that are sponsored by a Western European country. If you make art about, this is Paco Rocco's story about the cartoonists in Spain in the 50s making their own magazine. This is about architect Eileen Gray. You can find it about everyone and everything. So why? Now we gave you a very, very brief, as all my comic history is, truncated and possibly incredibly incorrect history of this subject. Why? Why, once it finally took off, once it was accepted as a thing, why is biography and autobiography so popular and successful in comic book form? Anyone? Bueller? Joseph? Anyone? I'll give you a second to figure it out. While I give you that second to figure out, we'll look at the DC, because I'm not going to remember to show them next week. So I'll look at the DC single issues that we got that came. They're already mixed into all the new stuff. So we'll quickly look at that while I wait anyone to answer why non-fiction comic books, biography, autobiography, are so powerful, are so good. All right, we got reprints of Absolute Superman #1, so now we have all 4 issues. We got Absolute Batman #5 and reprints of that, so we have all 5 issues. Great action comic. Joe, look how great this cover is. Right? Look at that cover. Classic. All right. No one has an answer. I'll give you the answer. The answer is comic books are the best medium in the world. Now I'm thinking of what's his face, Fred Armisen in the Mario world, the Mario movie, right? The greatest army in the world, the Kong army. Anyway, graphic novels, comics, the medium, whatever, the ninth art, allows you to encode so much information that normally the reader has to process through the written word. It means that when you're describing the house or the life or the vibe of one of Philip K. Dick's marriages or an Eileen Gray project that didn't come out the way it was supposed to, you don't have to hope that the reader has an understanding of the three-dimensional space you're describing or that feeling that you get when your spouse is... Yes. So you can really convey a lot of stuff that takes up a lot of room in a novel much easier, especially when you get into art. You get into things like discussing the life of Isadora Duncan and her dancing. You can spend pages and pages trying to describe how her dancing differed from the conventional dance of the day, but being able to see it visually is something else completely. Thomas Gritton, undiscovered painter, right? The Undiscovered Painter. I've talked about that book that came out a while ago about him numerous times. That book that creates a fictional world in which these people are discovering his work doesn't just let you see his art, but it also lets you see the passion and the way it makes people feel about his art in a way that you couldn't do any other way. Mostly, though, this is what graphic novels can give you the meat of a person's life or a specific event in his life that mattered. So for this Bunnell book, we have his Labyrinth, right? What's it called? Land Without Bread. It's mostly about the short film, the film at the time, now it would be a short film, Brunel made about the peasants living in the area. And you need the background of what these people's lives were like, the sociological place where each of the people working on the project came from, and the actual project and its result. And it's this thin little book that you can read in like 3 hours and then go watch the film with a completely new appreciation. What do you mean? There's like nothing in here. Nothing happens on space. Yes, but these are the mountains that everything is shot in the film. This is literally like a static shot from the film. But now we're placing the action here in those shots. We're showing you that people had to walk and pick these without having a discussion about it. Talking about the life of the people after they made this film and how little it actually changed. All of those things that would take you pages and pages, and they sort of seep out of your memory as you take 3 days to read this gigantic book about Brunel shooting specifically that book, that film, and you get it all in 2 hours. That's the other thing, is that it creates an experience. I have known people who've read biographies about people that were very limited. Graphic novel biographies are often very limited and discuss one little thing and they go, I hate that guy who did blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what? And that was like one thing in someone's incredibly long life. But that moment in the comic, like it hit. It really hit. And you're like, oh, I hate that guy so much. I'm thinking specifically the Artemis the Glenchler book has a couple of really intense moments that, they weren't that huge a part of her life, but they had a huge impact on her story and what happened with her. So they put it in the book. And stuff like that I think graphic novels really allow, especially now when you're getting autobiographical, when you're talking about yourself, I can really show you how it'd be inside my head if I can make a comic book, if I know how to draw, if I know how to create things incredibly well, if I'm a comic creator, through my pictures. And you get the sense of, I will tell you, one of the most intense things I've ever read in my entire life, one of the most painfully, exceptionally powerful things that I've ever read is Tom Hart. Now, Tom Hart is an exceptional comic creator. I don't get much from most Tom Hart things. Tom Hart does good stories. He knows how to tell them, but most of them don't connect with me because a lot of them are very, very much about stuff that is not like hit to me. That doesn't mean a lot to me, but he does it well. But then you get his Rosalie Lightning, which is about the loss of his young daughter suddenly, and the absolute life destroying depression that came with that, and climbing out of it. And this graphic novel, there's no words for the pain that this graphic novel dredges up inside you. Even the wonderful It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood, which is an exceptional graphic novel about pain and suffering, even that doesn't come close to the intensity of Rosalie Lightning, and that's because Tom Hart is Tom Hart. Tom Hart literally has been teaching comic creation for like 25 years. This is after Rosalie Lightning. They had him write a whole book about graphic memoir, how to tell your story in a memoir and make it meaningful, because you know what? He literally wrote the book on it. And there are artists or famous figures or events in history that I know of and care about a lot more because I read a graphic novel that covered them and discussed them and let me learn about them in a way that is comfortable to me, because I love graphic novels. And I just think that... Sorry, I'm hearing a weird noise. You guys hear that? It's like someone's got like a vibrating device on their floor that I'm hearing through here. Anyway, hopefully nothing will break through the ceiling. Anyway, those are comic book graphic novels, comic book biographies, graphic novel biographies, comic book biographies, whatever you want to call them. And they're wonderful and they're amazing. I love comic books. I find it disheartening how often I have to listen and hear people talk about some TV show or movie and its wonders and its amazingness. And I go, I don't watch so much. I don't. They go, oh, why? And I'm like, do you read comic books? Huh? Do you? Why? Why not? I don't. I'm not a big movie guy. What do you mean you're not big? What do you mean you don't watch movies? But you're allowed to say you don't watch comic books, right? You're allowed to, oh, I don't read them. I don't know how to read them. I should try that. Next time someone asks if I saw a movie, I go, oh, I don't know how to watch movies. I don't know. It's so confusing. It's always all the stuff moving on the screen all the time. And who's that? Like, I can't handle it. Should I try that? See how that goes? Anyway, yes. Biography and nonfiction is an exceptional part of comics, and if you have not touched that part of comics yet, besides for the big ones, besides for Mouse and Persepolis and Lonely at the Center of the Earth, then you're missing out. You can get stuff on your favorite artists. You can get stuff on artists you've never heard of. You can get stuff on the Cyberman, on this weird little guy who was online about 24/7 for the last 10 years of his life. You can get a book about him. You can get a book about art. You can get a book about hate. You can get a book about billionaires. You can get a book about dictatorship. Why am I evil, Joe? I'm not evil. I know that I make jokes like this and say stuff like this all the time, but like I really am sick of the place that comic books takes up in most people's mind when they think of the medium. Oh yeah, they can bang. It's fun because like, science fiction-y stuff, you can just show everything. Everything you can show everything. It's like a film, except instead of showing me a room or a building and then moving through it, I can see that. I'm looking for the Eileen Lee building. I can see a picture of a building or a place and I'm having trouble here, sorry. And just focus on what I'm seeing and look it over. Okay, it's a bad example. I won't use this one, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. That is my point. Raising movie viewers everyone's a movie viewer. It doesn't require anything to watch a movie. It doesn't use your brain. Maybe some movies might, but the actual experience of going to a movie is about as passive as you can get. Okay, you're sitting there Oh no, Iron Man. When I'm reading a comic, I'm going, oh no, Iron Man, and then I have to turn the page. There's a difference. All right. I would say until tomorrow, but we all know that tomorrow is Friday. It's crazy. I don't know if I'm going to actually make time to do this. I will also remind you we're closed Monday. We will be going to a family wedding. I will probably do a live stream, but who knows what kind of live stream it will be. And lastly, that we are desperately hemorrhaging funds, patience. So please buy things, buy a gift card from our website and come into the shop. Go to our website and go to the recommendations. Say, I just watched your live. There's a thing recommended reading, and there's different tiers. I just watched your live stream on graphic novel biographies. I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. Send me some, please. If you're a regular customer and you're watching this, you're going, oh, I'll ask me. Don't ask me next time you're in. Buy that thing online and say, and please include the shipping price because I'm going to come pick it up. And we'll do that. All right. Until probably Sunday, but possibly tomorrow. Remember, damn it, babies, you got to be kind.